So I wanted to show you, so with the 5519, when test is done, you have the choice of loading with SOC or without SOC. So without SOC is because if you're like me, I don't fill out the SOC questions. So your matrix results are not skewed by the questions there. But if you want to go ahead and answer the questions, which I recommend you have that on your intake form, because those 20 questions here in the United States are part of our FDA registration, that we go over those 20 questions with our client. So I'm going to do load without SOC. I'm going to go ahead and generate my clarity report. Okay, now for those of you with the 5518 version of the Mandelay software, you're going to, instead of when test is done, our knee jerk has always been to click please load new info report. You don't want to do that. You want to click remove info. And that way we get a true list of the matrix results. So if you have the 5518 Mandelay software or older, you're going to click remove info. If you have the newer version of the Mandelay software, you can choose between load data with SOC or without SOC. I did without SOC because I did not fill out the SOC questions. If you do load without SOC, you'll get the smaller list of reds. If you do load with SOC because you answered the questions, you'll get a greater list of red choices. Now, really quick, I want to make sure to go back to this. Deanna brought up, she wanted me to tell you something funny or interesting. With our software, we get some really interesting clients in. So with Deanna bringing out that her client had 12 million, 35 million, do I hear 36? Her client, he had 35 million on his resonant frequency pattern because he walked his dog through a cemetery every day. So imagine all of that aura, energetic Klingons our clients are picking up. You know, we have to ask these weird questions. Emily, what did you want to say about Debbie about the, right, so yeah, Dr. Debbie Drake was saying with our parasites can consume that serotonin and dopamine, two of our brain happy hormones that we need. They love, a lot of our clients take vitamins that are horrible at being assimilated into our body, but the parasites love them. They love vitamin Bs. Now, going back to this comment about the second VARHOPE, Debbie Drake and I are the only ones that teach those. If other people have gone to our trainings and have started teaching that, that's fine. But I know there's a couple other really famous trainers in the world that will poo-poo anything Debbie and I teach on this. You know, it's really funny. I crack up. Debbie Drake was an MD for 30 years and did grant-based research, triage medicine, trauma, emergency room medicine for 30 years. Her use of the SCIO is beyond most people's. And so I always trust her because she was a MD and she was a successful SCIO practitioner. Where I meet some of these trainers that will kind of poo-poo things that she and I say, and all they do, they're trainers. They actually they actually don't have any strapped up clients. And so that's why I kind of get on you guys about being careful where you plug into for information. Because sadly in our industry, there's a lot of bullies. And it's really sad. Just before the Mandelay event in Budapest, there was a lot of fake letters being shown around the internet that FDA was going to show up in Budapest. Just like last year here in Vegas, some of you heard Adam was supposed to be arrested here. He wasn't. It was all fake. You know what's really sad is for many years, Ron and I listened to Desi, who would say, the reason why Desi's been a fugitive from the United States since the 90s was because he had asked his secretary, he had wrote a whole letter for her to type up on his fax cover sheet. And he had used an FDA fax cover sheet to write his notes on. And he swears that he asked her to type it up on his letterhead and fax it, but she didn't. She faxed it, his handwritten on the FDA. And so he told us for years, that's why I'm in trouble, because of my secretary. But for those of us that have been around a while, it's just, to me, was the beginning of a long line of a pattern of fake letters being sent out and then trying to backwash on them, backpedal on them. So just be careful who you guys plug into. That's why we have our weekly webinars, so that we go over the state of the union, state of our industry with you guys. Because just like some of us got emails this morning about stuff, and it's just, all it is to just create negativity and drama. And so many people want to support the bullies in our industry. And I'm sorry, I recommend that you don't, but it's up to you. So some of you have called us, you emailed us, you've been so frantic on social media about some of the fake stuff because it looks and sounds so real, and then you get stressed out. When all of us need to be beacons of light in our community, not stressed out practitioners wondering who's telling the truth. Okay, so when you go into the matrix, and if you would have clicked please load new info, you'll get that giant list of reds in the 5518 and newer Mandelay software. But if you clicked remove info, you won't get this anymore. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, how many of you like to spend a lot of time in the matrix when you work on a client? How many of you like to use your search box? That search box is awesome. If any of you need to, saw me talking earlier about the Quantum Clarity Report being the only legally compliant document we can give our clients. It's 36 pages of awesomeness. If you like to do searches in the matrix and you spend a lot of time doing searches in the matrix, you may be able to speed up that time if you have another one of Adam's programs called the Category Report. The Category Report kind of does all those searches for you and puts it all into a summary for you as well. And Adam didn't tell me to tell you guys if he has a special deal going on like he did in Budapest last month. But I recommend all three of those programs. For those of you that are starting out new as a practitioner, the Clarity Report is the investment I would tell you to go for. And getting it here at the event would be definitely a savings than the regular price, which is usually $1,000 US. I got to say though, if any of you have never had any of the Clarity programs, you have to have Microsoft Excel to make them work. So that's an additional thing to pay for. And another thing that just came up at our office last week was, or a couple weeks ago when I was there, when you do buy the Clarity Report, you are not immediately sent it. You have to pass a test first. You have to actually watch the Quantum Academy's coaching course, and then you'll be able to get the Clarity program. For some of you, if you did it a long time ago, it was a different process. That's how it's been for the last couple of years, though. So I love searching for things in the matrix, and I love going up to the top of the matrix and clicking expand name. How many of you go up to the top of your matrix and click expand name? It's a fun thing to do. When you click it down here, it depends on the version you have. It'll either be right where that circle is, where you're going to get the connection to homotoxicology and the connection to spine. With a newer version, it's actually down here by the yellow. So it's super cool. Let's say you click connect to homotox. It's going to take you over to here. Now, the reason why it's fun to do this and effective is we did a search in the matrix, a focused search on a particular word. And by the way, just as a reminder, with our matrix, have you guys ever noticed the English isn't really spelled correctly? So when you search for things in the matrix, don't be super particular. Like, what did I search for in this one? So it says allergy. So I would just do ALLERG. Don't put the Y on the end, because then you're going to miss the potential for other stuff being missed. So feel free to spell things incorrectly or partially, because I used to like to say it's Hungarian English, but then I sound racist. So it's Nelsonian English. But when you can do a search, do a focus search, click something like we see an allergy miasm here, do connection to homotox. You're going to jump over to the homotoxicology panel. Now, you're not going to use this like you normally do. You're going to use this in a different way. So when you come into homotoxicology, you're going to click info click first, which turns on the xenobiotics button. And when you click on that, it'll bring you over to the treat panel, But again, we're not coming in here to do treat top 5. We're coming in here to look at the numbers. And what we want to focus on is clicking on the one that is the highest number. Now you'll notice stress is at 126, so you just got to click it once and it's going to zap it. And do that as many times as it takes until it rectifies to 100. Now you'll see that pork is on there in this particular instance, and it's super close. So I would actually do that one too. Now it's talking about pork being bad. It's not talking about bacon. Bacon's a gift from God. So we're talking about the other pork products, but not bacon, okay? Just so we're clear. And not turkey bacon. So when you click it once, though, and do it till it rectifies, what you just did is you spent about 5 minutes doing something very focused. You did a search in the matrix, you found in the list of the results what you wanted to focus on, and did that connect to Homotox, and then you found out what is the particular additional thing that needs that focused work. Now, just as a heads up for those of you that are not used to doing this, when you click mental retention of toxins, it's going to open up a PDF document talking about mental causes. So some of you will go, oh my goodness, whenever I click it, something tries, the software acts up. It's not acting up. It's trying to open up that PDF document. So, but you only got to click whichever the highest number is until it rectifies. If it rectifies in one click, that was nice. I want to find the thing that takes like 5 or 7 clicks to rectify. Then when you're done and you get to rectification, you can come back out here. Feel free. Understand that this panel, you do zaps, but it is kind of a report panel. But since we did the connection, we are doing that work. But when we close out and we get the chance to stimulate detox and the allopathic drug detox, feel free to do either of those or both if you want. And I like how one of my mentors talks, it's like pulling the plug out of the bathtub, as to how it really does a neat way of clearing out for your client. Now, as a tip, when you do the connection to spine, it's going to take you to the spine panel, and it may just show you one vertebra. I used to want it to be like a whole section. I wanted all of cervical to be red. I wanted all of thoracic to be red. But sometimes we just like one. I'd be like, well, that wasn't worth it. Hello? We did a focus search. We did connect to spine, and it gave us one vertebra. Potentially one vertebra is really tied to them having some wellness issues. So we recommend they go see a chiropractor. That's one of the big things, the homework I give. Do you see a chiropractor now? Once a year, whether I need to or not? Well, you might want to do it a little bit more often. I meet so many people that have never been to a chiropractor. So I definitely recommend all of you have a couple of chiropractors that you refer people to. Because you'll know how, that you trust them and that they're going to take care of your client. And maybe, like I have clients that come from about a 2.5 hour radius from me. And so I've got to be able to have a couple different ones. So the networking that some of you brought up that's advantageous of having here is kind of good for you guys. Mariah, did you have a question? I'm going to take you guys into the dental panel later. So, but as far as the map and the Meridian, that's not something, I usually give people those that go to my events. I don't know but you guys actually might be getting it as one of the downloads from me, because you guys are going to get a whole bunch of stuff. Like you're getting my whole PowerPoint, by the way. So don't be stressing out about that. And then like Peter said earlier, you're getting a copy of the recording. Okay, where else can we go? Okay.
Why don't you use the top 5 there? Why do you say not to use that?
Because we're not using this like regular homotoxicology. We're going to be back in here later. Okay, so Cindy's asking, why didn't we do the tree top 5? We're not using this like regular homotoxicology. We did the focus search in the matrix. We did connection to homotox. The whole reason why we came into this report panel was to find the highest number or numbers. And sometimes you'll see even higher ones. Now, how many of you like to use your echoes down at the bottom? So the echoes happen when you do a search, you do a focus search, and you drag a result down into the red box. So let me show you how that looks, because some of you have never done this before. Just know anywhere in the software, if it's a hidden button, it's advanced. That's so funny. My highest risk is rectal gas. I've been eating a lot of Mexican food lately. You know, hey, it's right there. It's just, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drag. So what you do is you just drag that down to the red, and it turns on the hidden echo buttons. So the echoes are pretty cool. It's an advanced way of using your matrix that takes you a deeper way in. So I'm going to click mental echo. And it's going to give us 6 results over here by the map. So some of you didn't notice this, but this little shaded area, that's a world map. But we get the 6 choices here. Now, since we did a focus search, or we found something in the matrix that we liked, and we did mental echo, we're going to come over here, and you can double click on these yellows until the word shaping, for those of you that can't see this, it says shaping right here, and you'll keep doing it till the word shaping changes to excellent. Now, what's really interesting is, with all the versions of the software, with every device, sometimes the software won't get all the way to excellent. It's really annoying. And then sometimes what you'll notice, like I'm going to try something right here in front of you guys. I'm going to hit the next one, the Illumina one. Sometimes the matrix will get kind of goofy and it won't go past 3 bars of blue. This time it did. So what I would tell you to do is, if you're going to use your matrix by doing a focus search or finding something in the matrix that was already a high risk, like my family would appreciate me working on gas, then you're going to do each one of these until the word shaping turns to excellent. Now, that may take 20 minutes just on mental echo, but you did a focused zap on something they needed you to. Now, some of you will get really stressed out and you look for a shortcut and you want to open up the blue information box and go find those things and drag them in and just zap the one information box. But I want to know how long it took each one of those to rectify. Because one of them might rectify in 1, but the other ones might take 20, one might take 10, one might take 7. I want to know how long each one of them takes, and then you might be able to recommend that they take those products, or what I'll do is I'll do a screenshot, and at the end I'll show them my notes. This thing took 7 clicks, this one took 1, this one took 15. I'll show them, I'll go, do you think any of those is something you might want to take? Well, gosh, that thing took 15 clicks, maybe I should take that. That's a good idea. You did not prescribe. You showed them your notes, they made a reasonable decision based upon what you showed them. You're not going to send them home with your notes. But again, I don't look for shortcuts here. When people watch my Seriously Smart Session training webinar, they're like, Fernando, can't you just get Mandelay to just make that an automatic thing? Like in one-click therapies, you just do Fernando's Seriously Smart Session. You click one button and then it's like George Jetson. You push the one button, you take a nap for 8 hours. That takes being a practitioner out of the whole thing. That's a shortcut. I don't agree with that. We're practitioners, we're coaches, we are investigators. So if you take out the chance to figure out how many clicks it was, you just took out your chance of being an investigator. So I do each one. So depending on how much time you have in an appointment, you may be able to get the 6 yellows for mental echo done. And the next appointment, you'll do causal. The next appointment, you'll do etheric. And the next appointment, you'll do curative. But some of it may go pretty quick, because some of you guys have a client and they rectify so fast. And I'm always jealous of you guys. But I want you guys to hear me say something, because some of you will get really down on yourself, like I told you earlier before the break, about how when things don't go well and you doubt yourself. And then say sometimes you're having a session with a client, everything rectifies in 1 click to 100. And you're like, I must be doing something wrong. Isn't it possible your client's having a good day? So you guys beat yourselves up all the time. I did that too. I've been doing this a long time. And it's just, it's just so funny how we look for excuses to beat ourselves up. Okay, now, hold on, let me go back. So that's using the echoes. I hope you guys start using those a little bit better. How many of you, yeah, Lori? So Lori's question is, can I go deeper into the echoes? I could, but I don't have 2 days to teach you guys. I have 1. And so with the echoes though, for those of you that were on the tour this year and last year, I had 2 days. So I spent a lot of time talking about the echoes, watch your recording. But for those of you that didn't, wait till next year. But with the echoes, again, since you did a focus search, you dragged something to the red box, it gave you your echo results. It's just a deeper way of using the matrix. And again, since the buttons are hidden, they're advanced. So that's one of the things about them. Yeah, Janet?
Oh, why would you choose mental mapping and also over theory?
So Janet's question, why would I start with mental? Start with whichever one you feel is appropriate. Another thing you might, but I'm kind of a right to left, top to bottom person. So that's why I would start with mental and then move over to the right. Some of you, though, if you read Hebrew, you go right to left. So it's up to you. You know, if your gut or your guts is pulling you one direction or another, give that a whirl. Yeah, just whip button. Before you ask your question, what's your name?
My name is
Garius, hi. Well, so her question is, if you do all the echoes in one session, is it too much? Well, the way I do a session, I don't even get to this part before I've opened up all their channels of elimination, so they're not going to have a reaction to it. Some people do a lot of shortcuts, so they watch other trainers where their startup is only like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That's what my startup used to be. My startup was about 7 to 12 minutes, and I realized it was not effective because my clients are actually most of you guys. You guys will book an appointment with me at your home or your home office, and you strap up for a session, and I remote into your computer, and you put me on speakerphone, and I run a session on you like I'm right there with you. And I found that when I run a session, my Seriously Smart session on someone that walks in the door, I get through the whole beginning part to the go to work part of the documents, because it's 4 sheets. So I get through the first 2.5 pages with a in the door walk-in within about 45 minutes. When I'm working on one of you guys, it's 1.5 hours to 2 hours because you guys take care of everybody else before you take care of you. So I found out many years ago that my startup was very ineffective for taking care of the worst wellness people. So the way I do sessions now is I open up a ton of stuff. So right here, I could do all 4 echoes and they wouldn't have a strong reaction to it. However, if mental echo, because I started there because I started at the left, Janet, is if it took me 20 minutes, then I'm not going to go, I won't even have enough time to work on the other ones in the appointment. But that actually tells me a lot. If it took 20 minutes, they needed me to spend that time there. So don't stress out, because some of you are like, oh, I had so much more I needed to do. Yeah, you had more that you needed to do. They needed you to focus on that button. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, again, if when you're doing the echoes, when you're clicking on the yellows, the zap should take about 15 to 30 seconds. So your question of can you overdo it? If the zaps start taking 1 to 3 minutes, you know you messed up. But with the older versions of the Mandelay software, some of the zaps were kind of taking long, so there's a learning curve there too. Now, how many of you like to drag stuff down to the purple box to the harmonics? The harmonics, for those of you that have never done this, it opens up 2, depending on the version of the software you have in the device, it'll open up 2 or 3 hidden buttons, and it opens up a whole nother set of hidden stuff. So let's take flatulence even deeper, and we're going to drag this down to the purple box. And you see here, with this version, it only opened up 2 buttons. So we're going to click Search Harmonic. Okay, so right here, you guys, you see we get 6 yellows that we can click on each of them. And we also got 2 hidden new buttons here. I recommend that you start with Homeo Focus. The reason why is the software acts kind of interesting if you start with Emotion Focus. If you want to get to Emotion Focus, go ahead, but I would still say start with Homeo first. So after you do your 6 yellows, click Homeo Focus and watch what happens. And again, we're going to do each of the yellows till it rectifies, and we know it rectifies because the word shaping turns to excellent. Unless, if you guys remember, sometimes it doesn't matter what device you have or what version you have, sometimes the matrix acts up with a particular client. Nothing gets higher than 3 bars. It may get not higher than 7 blue bars. Just go with it. Okay, so when we did Homeo Focus, the top 4 yellows changed, You can click on each of those, but we have a new hidden button that just turned on, general focus. So if you want to, you can continue on with general focus. You got your emotion focus. And again, just like with the echoes, the harmonics just it goes into the matrix in a deeper, different way, where again, we're getting to be investigators. So if you click emotion focus, you'll get your different choices, you'll work on those. If you click on general focus, watch what happens. You see how another button turned on? Top 6 homeopathic. So my top 4 yellows changed, my third yellow completely disappeared. But how funny. Pride. I'm not a proud, flatulent person. My identity conflict. Who would I be without them? I'll tell you, just to be really funny, side story. When we were in Yosemite on Thursday and Friday. Thursday night, we stayed at a hotel right in Yosemite Valley called Wawona. Technically, it was at the top when you came in. Wawona was a very swanky kind of a hotel. Everything else was pretty much sold out. And we had a really nice room. Get this. Check out this hotel. It was $166 for a room that had a full bed and a single bed, so the 3 of us had a room to be in, without a bathroom. For $70 more, for $237, you can have your room with they called it the private bath. I'm like, I get up all night to use the restroom because I drink so much during the day. And so I'm in the bathroom in the morning, having my morning constitution, and I hear the neighbor walk into his room. I didn't know if there was someone in the room next to us. And I heard him come in and start talking to his wife, and they had a conversation. I'm just sitting on there on my download device, and I'm like, I can hear them talking. Oh my gosh, I'd be going in the bathroom like during the night. I'm in here downloading a file right now. The walls are this thin? Oh my God. So the identity conflict, the pride, so that just cracks me up. Anyways, so I'm trying to give you guys an idea of using your matrix in a deeper way, dragging things into, and if you have clients with flatulent problems, then there you go. We can go to the echoes, we can go into the harmonics, and so with the echoes, we get 4 hidden buttons that we didn't see were there. If we drag it to the purple box, we have 2 to 3 hidden buttons that we didn't know were there, and that opens up 4 additional hidden buttons. What I love showing you guys and using your software more effectively, how many of you never knew that you had hidden buttons in the matrix? Now, some of you have computers. See, we've been building computers for practitioners since 2006. Our computers are in about 60 countries around the planet. And we make them specifically for practitioners. Now, we make sure that our screen will fit the whole software. So I know some of you don't have a quantum computer brand laptop, and you might not have the purple line or the red line. So you're probably wondering, I don't even have that on my software. Well, sorry, but it is definitely worth it. That's one of the reasons why you'll notice sometimes some of our laptops are more expensive than others, because we give you the screen that shows you the whole software. So for some of you that don't have this, I'm sorry, you'll have to wait till you get your next computer. Yes? Oh, what a good question. I've never checked that. So her question was, if I click top 6 homeopathics, does that take it into the homeopathic activation panel? I've never checked that. Okay, so we got our choices, bam, bam, bam. Where would I go in here to look for that? I don't use this panel.
Oh, you know what? You look at the info panel. Yes.
So from here?
Yeah, it should be in there.
Well, yeah, it'll probably show up in here. That's for sure. I was wondering if it would show up over here. I'm going to announce something to you guys I haven't announced publicly to anybody. Probably so stop recording. I'm not going to fart. Shut up. You know what's funny is there's a few trainers on the planet that are really good at teaching this panel. And some of them have never updated their training, and some of them have. I'm so excited for you guys because Bala is like the expert, in my opinion, in our industry, the true expert in the homeopathic panel. So you guys make sure you have your Wheaties and you come and listen to Bala teach this week when he comes into this panel. But I'm going to make sure this is going to be, I'm going to dig deep into this panel. So next year on my tour, this will be another thing I go in deep on. Because I want, you know what's so funny? Ron and I toured with Adam for many years at his events, and people would always ask Adam, can you teach the homeopathic panels? So Adam's answer was, you know, that's one of the weaker panels in the software, which is Adam code for I don't know how to use that panel. So don't tell him I said that, unless I'm there with you. Okay, so here, let's talk about screenshots, because Mariah was asking about this earlier. All of you, from Microsoft Vista to now, in our software, we have a program called Snipping Tool. And you can just come down here and click your start button and type the word snip. And you'll get your snipping tool. For those of you that have a computer from us, you have a quick launch area down here in the bottom left. You can actually drag that down and have that here in your quick launch. You can also right click on it and just right here, pin to your start menu. So every time you come here, it'll be here in your list. Since I use this so much, I have it down here. You'll see your pointer turns into a plus symbol, and you can just highlight what you want to do. So you hold down your left button, expose the area, and release your left button, and it'll show you. And then you can save this. Since I use the Quantum Clarity Report, I get a file for every session of that. It creates a folder for that client. So, you know, I would just call this, you can call this F number 1 for my Fernando number 1 picture for the day. But now we can go ahead and reduce this. Let's go back here. It doesn't look like it. But thank you for getting me to prove it to ourselves. You guys, I love it. A little bit later, we're going to be in the allergy panel. I'm going to show you guys the proper way to use all 3 allergy panels. And a question came up at the Fort Lauderdale event this year. A doctor said, why do you do this one particular step? Do you have to do that? And so after that leg of the tour was done, I went home and ran the different allergy panel, different devices. And there was a reason why. So I'll talk about that later when we get there. Yeah, Mariah?
My original teacher, Leah Harvey in Escondido, spoke about, in our original 5-day training, the importance of clearing the immune system, especially with those that have prolonged, which is common, Epstein-Barr virus or other autoimmune challenges, instead of just going in, scanning, going into the matrix and starting to treat. Otherwise, it could be, that's what happened to me. My practitioner was quite good, but I had late-stage Lyme and mold, little did we know, but we found out the hard way because she went in, she didn't do the lymphatic clearing, and all of a sudden all this stuff came flushing forward. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. Well,
Yes.
that's, so go ahead and turn off the mic. So with the, ultimately, what do we, these 4 days, no, we're probably, it's all really focused stuff that we're going to be going over. Today's kind of a refresher, but it's also me going into some deep, fun stuff with you guys. So what I would definitely recommend would be, I've got 30 webinars that you can look at that can help figure out doing things like that. Since you brought up Epstein-Barr, though, wait till Philippa teaches in a couple, tomorrow. She's going to go into Epstein-Barr and and she's going to use, I use the shaping box in my sessions, but she and Freddie are going to show you guys a way of using the shaping box that is, wow, mind-blowing. And I haven't figured, I need to watch it again because it kind of broke my brain.
You did say at the start, though, that you would open up the channels of elimination before you would go into any of these.
Absolutely. Yeah, part of the way I do sessions is, it's so funny. You guys know, Gail's here. Gail's not teaching at this event, but she's got her manual up in the vendor room. Gail has what she calls due diligence, which is 4 things in short start codes. I do 9. I open up all the channel. Well, I won't say all because then you guys are going to argue with me. But I open up a big bunch of parts of the channels of elimination before I would even do that, so there isn't a strong reaction. Because you know what's funny is some of the trainers that I learned from that were my first mentors in this industry, they would kind of gauge how effective their session was by how bad of a headache or migraine their clients got. And I feel that's completely inappropriate. That's what I did in the beginning because my mentors that make 350 grand a year doing this were teaching me that. But I realized when I started getting clients that were coming in that didn't have the luxury of having a healing crisis because they had 60 days to live, 25 days to live, then I realized they can't afford that. Their body needs to be moving forward, not backwards. Hi, what's your name? Oh, okay, Janet, thank you. So how do we open the channels of elimination? In short start codes, that's one of the places where you can go and open them up. We don't have time to do that today because we are actually behind. But we have a webinar called the Seriously Smart Session 2019, which is a 4-hour webinar of how I do a session from start to finish. Iridology, you could go into Iridology, and in Iridology, I'll go in and I'll set each page to one thing, because Iridology is 100% a subspace program. You do not get any rectifications in Iridology. So look at Iridology as a support panel. If you're going to open up channels of elimination, my go-to place, short start codes. Good question. Okay, so Norma's question, how do we get rid of this? Now, you know what's funny? Since I use 5 devices all week, people kept saying that only happens with the Mandelay. No, it's actually been happening with Indigo for a very long time, but I never noticed it. So let me show you. So up here at the edge of the yellow, you can actually pull it over. You see how I'm doing that? So a lot of us, when we come into the software, it does not matter what device you have, the software will be like this, even if you click return to main, but just come up here and you can drag it over. And it'll stay like that the rest of the appointment. Because some of the lines have long definitions, some don't, but I'm glad you asked. Okay. No problem. Now, how many of you like to use the Invert Restore panel? So this is an amazing panel to use. The way you get in here is I'll tell you in a second. You're jumping ahead. I was about to go there 7 seconds. When you click on EPR enhancements, the 5th choice down says stimulate, reaction, duplicate, remedy. Stimulate, reaction, duplicate, remedy. I call it the Invert Restore box panel. It's in this panel that we can go in and put in, well, for those of you that were here a year ago, we had the 1-year anniversary of the Mandelay Massacre, the Mandelay Casino Massacre. So at least once a year, we're doing a training webinar free to all of our members. I call it the Heal the World webinar because I was getting really annoyed how none of the other trainers in the industry were kind of teaching you guys how to run the whole planet at once. So we do that at least once or twice a year at our company. The reason why I'm bringing this up is this is one of the things that comes up that you can put in your white box. So invert fear of failure, invert fear of success, restore positivity in life. So you can have a whole string of things that you put in there, like 1 thing to 20 things, have them all kind of tie into each other, like invert Epstein-Barr, invert Lyme, invert Borrelia Miyamoto, things like that. So you'll put them in like invert fear of failure, space, invert fear of success, space, and there's a restore. So each of the commands will either have an invert or a restore. Interesting thing is I've had people speak up at training events and they feel that this is hands down one of the most powerful panels in the software. And I agree, I love this panel. I just don't know what powers it. Like, when you click on the autofocus apps, you see it going line by line through things in the matrix. So ultimately, the invert and restore panel right here is amazing, but I don't know what powers it. So feel free to use it. I want you guys, your sessions to be more effective. What's so cool with the Mandelay software, when you put something in here, and Kim's going to go into this in her part, she likes to do things one at a time, which is also really effective. Like if you wanted to put invert fear of failure. But then sometimes in the software, when you're working on somebody, how many of you have ever seen fear of failure come up on a client? But in the same panel, you might see fear of success as well. So that's why I put them both in there. Yeah, Shelly? So Shelly's like the cancer correction. I actually never use those 3 buttons. so I can't talk about those, but keep your ears open because someone might talk about them here during the training. But I might, you never know, next year. This is also a fun panel where you can put things on the test tray. Like if some of us have got clients that want to quit smoking, you can put their cigarette on there and you can do invert from test tray. Yes, my chocolate benefactor. Huh? Lindy? Thank you. This is just, when you follow the Seriously Smart session, this is at the top of page 2. And I'll click start until it gets to 100. But here's the dilemma. For those of you with Indigo, it's a 4-minute click each time you click start. So I might recommend for some of you guys, maybe you'll accept between 85 to 95. With the Mandelay software, I go for 100, and because they're 2-minute clicks. 2 minutes is a much easier click to swallow than a 4-minute click. Because even with Eductor, with the QX World software, it doesn't matter what device you're using, every time you click start, it's gonna take a bit. But if you're just doing it in the kind of the beginning of a session anyways to kind of get things going and you're not really doing a serious thing like inverting cancer, invert Epstein-Barr, if you're doing something focused, go for 100. But if you're kind of doing something to just set the mood, go for 85. Okay, here's a screenshot time. Please take a picture. Do I have everyone's permission to run this super learning program on all of you while we're here during the training today? Okay. After I show you how to do this, I'm gonna show you how to do it, okay? What's really cool is I love running the there's kind of a neat way to run the super learning. And I've been teaching this for a while now. And some of you, if you've been getting our emails, we had a practitioner that was on our webinar version of our tour. She didn't come to any of our tour events, but she did the online version. And she has an autistic 10-year-old client that she's been running the super learning on. And like 2 months ago, she sent us a testimonial that the 10-year-old autistic client is like going gonzo in changing her personality and becoming more, please don't be offended by this word I'm going to use, but she's becoming more normal. Because for those of us that have had autistic people in our lives, some of them at the far end are like, have the mental attitude of a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and they don't, or even younger, and they can be really difficult to be around. My wife was a live-in nanny for a single man, a widower, that had a severely autistic boy. So, and then Ron and I used to work at a company, and the owner, he had a very seriously autistic daughter. So when I use that word normal, please don't be offended by it. But at 10 years old, she was running the super learning that I'm going to show you, and the parents were beside themselves. The 2 days before I left on the tour, she sent us another testimonial. The 10-year-old had just gotten an academic achievement award at school. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that after I show you this Meridian panel thing right here. I didn't, she did. 10. Because she only, for those of you that get our emails, one of the things that we were promoting this week was our Seriously Smart Business Building webinar that we did back in 2016. You'll find that some of the more successful practitioners never promote one session. I don't even strap up a client unless they commit to 4 appointments. And even if, I don't care how far they drove. Unless it was like a wedding gift that I gave them a session for, where it'll be a onesie, or if I realize during the talk they drove 2.5 hours and I don't really click with them and I don't like them, I'll do one session and never do a follow-up. But I have said other people, you feel, if your gut, if they don't sync with that person, don't feel like you're obligated to do sessions on them, even if you're related to them. You know? Okay, so let me circle back around. What was the question again? How many sessions? So one of the things that we've been teaching for years is for you guys to be smarter and be more effective business owners is promote 10-session programs, 20-session programs. Don't refer to it as a 10-pack or a 20-pack because you sound like Costco. But if you refer to it as a 10-session program, a 20-session program, you might find that you'll get people that are they're going to prepay, and some of you may choose to give a discount. Okay, so let's go to the Meridian panel. Most of us already go here anyways during our trainings. So we got this so a lot of us would come in, I'm sorry, not trainings, during our sessions, a lot of us would come in here and we click start, but you can actually come in here and copy and paste from your biofeedback shortcuts that I was talking about earlier. So watch what I'm doing. I'm going to click paste into this line of all those things that I showed you at the top of that PowerPoint slide. We're going to click test the meridians to an item. There's 22 meridians in here. I want at least half of them to be either fuchsia or white. Now look at that. I only got 2 fuchsias. Hold on, Lori, I might answer your question if you hold on a second. So if it doesn't like that string, what I'll usually do is I'll go back and I'll get rid of a couple. So I get rid of pantothenic acid and carnosine first. And these are all things you can look up in your matrix as to why they're beneficial. And then I'm going to click test the meridians again. By just clicking in that white box, that's what turns on that hidden button. Well, remember, if you guys remember, I told you about, I recommend a biofeedback shortcuts. That's a document you're going to create. So I definitely recommend that you all create a document. Like, I have a document here that I do a lot of copying and pasting from. So I recommend all you guys create your own. Whether you use Word or Excel. I like Excel because I can go through and do something like this. Yeah, Autumn? No. Good question. I will tell you, some people have asked me about, one of the things I'm going to show you guys in a little bit is how to add to your disease dictionary. I've made 81 custom new zaps to add to disease dictionary, and I'll actually sell that. I'll install it on that document on your computer for $100, and you'll get all 81 of my custom zaps that I've made, and you guys will see that in a little bit later. But no, this right here, you guys, make it for yourself, and then you see down here at the bottom how the reason why I like Excel is you can add workshops or worksheets. So, I've got different things where I've got if I'm working on one of my devices, I have a whole list of my family. Don't take pictures of my family though. Come on, Deanna. How uncool is that? And then if I'm working on one of the devices at the office, I have a whole device staff and vendor list, and where you can add people. But yeah, the shortcuts are on here. That's what I was showing you guys up there on your, at the top of the PowerPoint slide when I told you to take a picture. So if I put all of those in and I don't get a lot of whites and fuchsias, I get rid of pantothenic acid and carnosine first. And then I'll click the white button again. If I don't get a bunch of white and fuchsias the second time, I get rid of amber and mesquite, and I'll click the white button again. At this point, I've checked it 3 times, and I don't get rid of anything else. If I know for a fact my client is not dealing with depression, I can get rid of St. John's wort. But I find most of my clients are dealing with chronic pain, so I always leave arnica in. The other ones are all digestion related. If you ever want to do something fun, go into your matrix and search macadamia, and see how important macadamia is, why I put this in there. Yeah, Shelly? So the question is you saw on the other one, on my live screen, because this is a slide, if there's any greens or yellows, those are going to weaken those meridians. If more than 50% are white or fuchsia, I'm going to run it. Even though the other ones are there, because what some people do is they'll actually turn their biofeedback sounds on here, because when all the colors come up, if you have your sound on, you might hear excellent. And some people will go, because sometimes that organ, that SAR code, needs to be hit negatively for it to improve positively. So just kind of give that as an idea. So yeah, so this is what I look for. Some of you have sent me screenshots because you've done this and you've gotten all 22 are white and you flipped out, or all 22 are fuchsia and you flipped out. It's always fun. I love it when you guys get tickled. Hold on. Oh, yes, Maria. So the copying and pasting is, I'm just teasing you about, I'm going to show you copying and pasting throughout the day. So if you're not good at copying and pasting, you definitely need to be if you want to run sessions like me. Darius,
Yeah,
please
why-
ask your question.
Yeah. Why would you copy and why would you clip this and put into a file? Do you go back and reevaluate what you previously evaluated when they come in for a second follow-up?
No, that string right there, I use on every client, period.
Oh.
And then, but over my tours, I've given you guys additional strings to put in there or things to copy and paste. Like you can put crystals in there, oils in there. There's a lot of other stuff that you can put in there to enhance the zap. I have found these are just my go-tos. So you guys are going to get this in the PowerPoint, that file you're going to get download. And then, so what you'll do now is you're just going to click start.
And because those are turbo boosted, is it going to make the session smoother? Is it going to make this program?
Hold on, Darius is bringing you the microphone.
I'm done now.
So Deanna's
And
question
what's
is,
the purpose of it?
well, we're going to run this anyways to help balance out the 22 meridians. Why not make it just a more effective balancing? So their meridians are getting improved by having those things. So I just try to enhance it. It's up to you. Some of you guys don't have to do it. It's just, I found it's beneficial. Did you turn your microphone off? Why?
You know, why? Hello? Okay. I'm just wondering the why of it, the purpose of it.
To just make it a more effective zap.
And how does it become more effective?
Because by getting the colors, it's basically generated a report. It's letting you know which meridians are being benefited from it. And so because of it giving us the report of the colors here, it loaded those and tested the meridians. So they've already been zapped by it, but it's acting like a piggyback, like in your other panels.
Thank you.
I needed you to
Great
push me
answer.
on that. Thank you. Okay, so when retest is done, or when it's done, you're going to click retest.
Can you put emotions in that
I
box?
wouldn't put emotions in there. I would put the flower remedies. I put oils that are going to benefit the emotions that you know they're having an issue with. So it's up to. That's completely a great idea. The emotions, you know what? I don't want to hold you back from trying it. Give it a whirl. But I want to enhance zapping the meridians with depression, with anxiety, panic attacks. I don't know if I'd want to do that, and so it might not give it good color. But it's worth trying. Try it once when you're working on yourself. Okay. So when it's done, you do retest, and then it'll go through again. And then you could be done in this panel, or not. Let me show you. I just should have had this running the whole time. Now I feel bad. Okay. How many of you pay attention at the end of these? When you've run Meridian and you've run retest. How many of you have noticed how many didn't fix? Do you ever count how many didn't fix? So what I do is I will, after it's done, I added this since the tour. And because I want their meridians to be as cleared up as possible, just like I want their channels of elimination to be cleared up. So I'm going to teach you something new here. Make sure you're ready. Notice down here in the bottom in the blue, it says stop clasp sounds, and then there's an empty blue space. Watch what happens when we click close. A hidden button turns on called max treatment. Yes, this is on everybody's device, everyone's software, but you have to close out of the Meridian panel to see it. Okay, so watch what happens. If I get 5 or more meridians that don't fix, I'm going to do this zap that I'm about to teach you. If I get 4 or less, I'm going to move on. Why did I pick that? I don't know. That was my arbitrary one that I picked. But so you're going to click max treatment. And immediately you get 2 pop-ups that warn you not to do this panel. Or, in my case, they encourage me to use the panel. I'm going to click OK, and you're going to click OK. Now there's a password box. So here's where you're going to write down what I tell you. The password is capital I, space AM, space responsible. Now it's very important that you spell I, M, responsible correctly. Because watch what happens. You guys watching the screen? When you spell it properly, you get 5 boxes that need to be checked. I recommend that you go top down. Watch what happens. When you click all 5, then you can now hit these buttons. So how many of you like to come up here and run Auto Varhope? So Auto Varhope takes about 2 to 3 minutes, right? If you run the max treatment Auto Varhope, it takes about 12 minutes. It is bonkers. How many of you like to run the Auto Freak Therapy button? That is another panel for supporting meridians. If you click Auto Rife right here, it is the max treatment version of Auto Freak Therapy. So this is where I would run this. It runs where when you run Auto Freak Therapy, it can take a few minutes until you're done. If you click Auto Rife, it doesn't stop the zap until it's done, which could take about 3 to 5 minutes. And then how many of you like to run Auto Trivector? The Auto Trivector to me is the DNA detox panel. So Auto Trivector, it can take a while. Some of you will get pop-ups in there like spiritual oppression, personality oppression, emotional, whatever. If you click this Auto Trivector, it doesn't stop until it's done. So these are the max treatment ways of doing it. So when I do the Meridian panel, if I have 5 or more that did not fix, I'll click max treatment, I'll click the 2 OKs, and then you have to type I space AM space responsible. Now in the matrix, I told you to feel free not to spell things properly. You can't do that here. You have to spell responsible correctly. And then again, when we run regular Auto Varhope, it's always the background that comes up with ferns, it's green, it's gold. It's so lovely. When you run max treatment Auto Varhope, it's dark, it's purple, it's, to me, it's a very menacing looking panel. And I think it's in the PowerPoint. I'll show you it in a little bit. Anyways, I wanted to make sure to show that to you. Well, so the question is there any time you went into this? The thing, when you come in here, there's 2 warnings that you clicked on. So it's warning you that if you'd use this panel, there may be an intense thing. It was really cool at our Michigan event. A practitioner drove in from Indiana, and she called me about a month after the event, and she said just learning this max treatment completely was worth her paying to attend our event. She says what it's done for her sessions has been awesome. I'm going to do Emily first because she's only asked one thing.
So the max treatment for me, it comes up. Thank you. The max treatment for me, it comes up kind of a hit or miss by luck.
Well, it's on. We heard you.
So how do you do it on purpose to bring it up?
Well, once you close out of the Meridian panel, it turns on. Because some of you will come into universal biofeedback therapy and it's not there. So just open up Meridian panel and close it and it turns on.
Okay, and sometimes it doesn't let me use it even though I put in the right password. Have you come across that?
I know some people have it where it's not let them do it. I think it's mostly because you spelled it wrong. It might be because when you do I space AM space, you can't tell if you double spaced or triple spaced. So just try to backspace all the typing out and start in. But there are times where the software does block us from doing stuff. And some of you get really mad. You're like, ever since Ron touched my computer in Helena, Montana, it's not acting right. It can be the software is just protecting the client. And then Mariah?
With this panel, if it's too much for a client, will it say your client is not ready? If it's, again, opening too much, like some programs will?
No, it won't tell you that because it already
your
warns you
client
when you
has had
come in
enough?
here, you're accepting that this is an excess panel. Okay. So just know, because it opens up a hidden button, this is advanced. Okay. So I would not do this unless you've opened up all the things ahead of time. Okay, now when you click, when you do the start first meridian, that's when you get the very cool Acupoint button that turns on. Now, one of the things that when you click Acupoint, is it gives you a real-time recommendation of things to do. Now, some of you have been frustrated rightfully over the years. Is our software easy to use? 100%. No. Is it a very intuitive program? No. Some of you will say, oh, it's so intuitive to use. I think you're from another planet. It was purposefully made kind of to be difficult, I guess is what I've been told, so that you have to go to trainings to use some of it. It's just really super annoying. But some of you have wished, oh, why can't the software just give me a hint? So when you click the Acupoint button, and it gives you this green box, ta-da, there's your hint of recommended things to do. Now, what you can do is you can go down the left column or the right column and do each one of these. But I will tell you that it takes an eternity to do that. Now, in the matrix, when I do harmonics or echoes, I like to take that time. How long did it take for each one to rectify? In this particular instance, I would definitely recommend to just click consciousness form test and do take acupoints from screen, and these things will transfer over here. 11s equal blanks, but the other ones are the points from over here. Make sure before you click start that you type in an emotion, that you type in a physical thing, even if it's just stress, but I guarantee your clients have told you some other things. Anxiety, Lyme, liver issues. There's all these different things that can come up. Make sure to enhance this zap. This is a type of piggyback, and then click start. Now, when you do click start, the more things that show that you have boxes loaded, it will take longer, and just keep pressing start till it gets to 100 in resonance. It's a super powerful way to utilize this panel, and if you've got one of your accessories, feel free to put it in that spot. Now, let me show you a neat trick, though, because some of you have been to trainers that they're like, Fernando, or no, not Fernando, because your name's not Fernando, but they'll tell you don't use the right side. That's the old side. You can do either or. If you ever want to do a search down here, like if you wanted to search Lyme, and you could do superconscious search for point, it's always going to give you a choice on the left. And don't go ahead and do your left test and treat until the button grays out or in resonance gets to 100. If your resonance gets to 100, the button's graying out. But it is okay to utilize points on the right. Let me give you an example. For those of you that were on this year's SST tour, I taught you guys about using the bladder 11_35 on the right. Why is this cool? Well, look at all the different points that it's working on in your client down here. And how awesome, instead of doing bladder 11 through 35 over here on the left, you can just do 1 over here on the right, and it's getting all of those at the same time. It's a super cool panel to use, or choice on the right, and then you'll do the right test and treat until the button grays out. So these are just fun, effective ways to use these panels a little bit differently. Did I hear a question? Bladder 11_35. Okay, before I go into the PowerPoint, hold on, let me see where I'm at in the PowerPoint. Oh, I wanted to show you guys the super learning, but we're going to go into my favorite, which is allergies. Now, it's so funny. I love using the allergy panels. And one of the biggest reasons is to think about the emotional aspect of allergies. Allergies are inflammation. Inflammation is tied to anger. And we know anger can be happening from liver dysfunction. So it's an interesting circle to try to figure things out. And so in our panel, we have amazing things that some of our clients never want to give up. Like, we were talking about bacon earlier, and then there's, the other gift from God is chocolate. That's why you look at the package, it says copyright God. Nothing's wrong with chocolate. But then you got people that are allergic to chocolate. I feel so bad for them. So that's where we can kind of work on maybe using the software to see if we can retrain that allergy. It's interesting in the software how you'll find people that have animal allergies, but they won't get rid of their animals because they're part of the family. And I get that. You know, like for instance, I'm going to show you guys how to use all 3 of the allergy panels properly, but I'm going to give you a heads up. There are certain allergies that you may choose to work on a client, and it's going to backfire on you. And what do I mean by backfire? Meaning the client can sabotage the effectiveness of it. We actually have a whole webinar on how to use the 3 allergy panels properly, but also, just so you guys know, I'm going to kind of scooch through it here, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So what's an example of self-sabotaging the effectiveness? Like for me, I'm not a cat person. And I know for a fact if I go in here and work on my cat allergy and I get rid of it because I retrained it, the very next day, my family is going to want one of those demonic spawns of Satan in my home. And I'm not really a cat person, right? So now, but just to make a comment though, you know, cats and dogs are absolutely amazing. You know, for those of you that were on our tour a couple years ago, we were talking about geopathic stress, and I want to talk about pets for a second. As we talk about coaching with our clients, we know geopathic stress is real. And what's interesting is where a dog sleeps, dogs are allergic to geopathic stress like we are, like humans. So if a dog will sleep somewhere, it's safe for a human to sleep there. Where cats are attracted to geopathic stress. So where a cat sleeps, it's not healthy for a human to sleep there. So just keep that in mind. Now here's the interesting thing, is geopathic stress doesn't have to be the size of a car. They can be small pockets. So some of you will go, well, my cats and dogs both sleep together on the bed. So maybe position your bed in a situation so, you know, for that. And pay attention to animals. So that can be a form of homework that you give your clients. Okay, so let's have fun in the allergy panel so I can show you guys how to do this. How many of you like to use the allergy panel? A lot of us have got pets that we love to pieces, and they're a part of the family. We had a lady at our Portland event. She had a dog. I'm going to get choked up telling you guys this story really quick. Just so you guys know, the panels with the animals are amazing. You guys, if you have animals in your life, use the software to work on your pets. So a quick tangent here. So we had a practitioner at our Portland event. She had a dog, 16 years old, had all its fur came out one day, and just looked like he was on his deathbed. So she's like, I'm going to strap him up. She strapped him up hard. The very next day, all of his hair was back, and he was a fuzzball. The hair was over 2 inches long. It grew overnight. He had a couple of patches, like 2 small patches on his hip that did not grow hair, but she ran that insane session that day. The next day, he was fine, lived for the next whole year to be 17. And right around when he turned 17, all of a sudden, all his hair fell out, and he was sliding backward again. She's like, okay, I love my family member. I'm going to strap him up. She ran another session on him, or she was starting a session on him, and right in the software it said, I'm ready to go. And then she decided to stop the session, and he died. So I'm going to show you guys in a little bit the place where we can see those messages. So you guys, it's so important, you know, don't shy back if you got pets. If you're not good at working on a pet, but we got a whole webinar on how to use the different pet panels. Okay, so let's go to allergy. Some of you, I'm in the allergy panel at least once to 7 times a week with my clients. And the process I'm going to show you, sometimes the client will see a full release of an allergy, or they'll see a manageable release where it's gone, the benefits are for the whole season, and then next year it might come up, but it only takes 1 session instead of multiples, and it's super quick. It's awesome. So here we go. If we see up here in the fuchsia where it recommends allergy, then that's why I go in here. So program 2, Allersode. Now some of you have noticed, you click on program, and Allersode is not there. So there's a backdoor way to get into it, and it's through spinal. And it's right here where it says, in your version, it may say Allersodes or hyperreactants. I'm only showing you that in case you guys get stuck, because for some reason, sometimes you click on program and Allersode is not there. So we're going to go in, and it's very important that you do this next step. So this is allergy panel number 1. Allergy panel number 1 is for one thing, generating your allergy report. So we go up here to click test hyperreactant groups again. we click test hyperreactant groups again. I mean, you got to come into the panel first. So you click Allergy. So the reason why you have to do this is it's generating a new report. If you skip that button, the report's gonna be based upon the last client you generated this report on. If you've never clicked that button ever, then it's just a default result that it's gonna be pulling for you. Okay, so test hyperreactant group again is done. Now you're gonna come over here to click hyperreactant info report view. Hyperreactant info report view. And again, this is gonna be on the recording. It says, do you want an empty report? We wanna say yes, because we're gonna make a new report. So you see how it's blank for your client. That's an upside down 5, Pete. Okay. Okay, let's go quick. So we're gonna click close. Now we're gonna click organize by value. So by value, now right here in the middle, we're gonna see all the things that they're having reactions to. But you guys, here's the trick. Just because it says ALR does not mean they're allergic to it. We wanna scroll up and only click on the ones that say avoid and desensitize. So we double click on it and start scrolling up. Yes, Deanna?
If you put avoid and now search, ta-da!
Thank you. Wow, okay. You guys got that here. The only people, I teach this so much. And so right here we did the avoid and. So I'll do the top 5. Yes, Shelley?
The question I have is, I have people that know they have specific allergies because they've actually had tests with them.
Okay.
And they can come up high on that. Would that be the only time then you would know that they have an allergy to it, and then you could use those? Like you said to only click the ones that says avoid desensitize.
You know, if your client had gone through like testing by their doctor and they were told which ones, I would honestly not come in here to this one. I might just do invert or go into the matrix and actually work on them individually in the matrix. But that's a neat idea because we might be able to work on them both ways. I would work on them both ways actually. So I'm going to tell you what, guys, let's stop right there and generating this report. Deanna, thank you for showing me that neat trick. You know what's so funny is I learned a really cool trick at the Minneapolis event that Deanna was at this year that I'm going to actually show you guys later because that kind of blew my mind.